La suka lahlala. VM Sports.
Let's play some football.
Welcome to Most Site, the sports show you never knew you needed. I am your host, Mohamed Mutswana, and we are live on Voice on the Move network across all streaming platforms. Lina like again, and today we're going to be going into conversation about a very, very sensitive topic. We're talking cricket South Africa and the effort that it makes in making sure that the cricket in South Africa is taken care of from the grassroots levels. Now, please remember this is a live show. You can interact with us in the comment section by placing your comment and we will read it on air. Please do know that we only take comments that are respectful and we will not accept comments that are harmful to our viewers as well as our presenters. So we're going to go into conversation again. You are live on Voice on the Move network. We're chatting to Faida Crouch, who is a sport journalist, and we are going to be piping it down when it comes to the cricket hub system that is in South Africa. Of course, before that, we're going to take a look at a video that is then showing more insight about the cricket hub system here in South Africa. Let's take a look.
So Hub Challenge plays critical role in South African pathway. We identify these youngsters and make sure that we give them opportunity to play in the next national weeks and obviously the TAP camps. So a few of these guys do qualify for the next World Cup. So our aim is to make sure that we provide support for them so that when national selectors do identify them, they are ready to fit in that platform.
It's an absolute pleasure to be down here in Benoni this week watching the Hub tournament. It is just unbelievable to see the amount of talent that we've got ranking all the way down into our hubs where actually very few people know where Cricket South Africa spreads the game to. It is lovely to see the talent. We've seen some of the talent at our Kaya Majola and our under 16 weeks, and we're looking forward to a very competitive week. My real job this week is purely an oversight with the selection committee that's here and looking at the talent with us selecting a team between here and the tournament in George that will ultimately represent the hubs at the Michaelmas week, giving our boys the platform to play schoolboy cricket at the highest level.
The hubs are the integral part of our development pathway. As you as you're well aware that we have 70 of them around the country, and they are based in disadvantaged communities. They're helping the schools around their own environment where opportunities of having access to infrastructure is very limited, because the hubs is an infrastructure where schools around it, they can come, get together and play matches from an area league perspective. But the better players are getting selected to form a hub team, and they go and represent their own area in normal schools league. But what you see here in Benoni is a culmination of the hard work that gets done behind the scenes by the head coaches as well as the assistant coaches that are appointed at the hubs. So we're having for the first time an under 18 hub challenge, which is a link up as well to our talent identification for the World Cup in 2026, under 19 World Cup for ICC. So some of these players, we're hoping that they will be identified from here on, supported in the next 2 years. They will become part of our talent acceleration program, and hoping to see 1 or 2 of them in the final selected team to the World Cup.
Yeah, look, the role that we're playing here as selectors is obviously to identify boys that we're going to select that will participate in the Michaelmas week later on in September, later on in the year. But other than that, it's to add overall to the pipeline of the teams, in terms of knowing what's coming up. Boys who could be ready or who could participate in the SA Under-19 team. But this is just a feeder to all those. It's just another pipeline, another avenue for our boys to go participate in these tournaments.
Of course, that was more insight on what the Cricket Hub system, yeah, Cricket South Africa is. And we're going to go into conversation about that. But before we do that, let me introduce my guest. Sports journalist Faida Crouch is on the other line, waiting for us to dive into such a deep conversation. And I know it's something that is very close to her heart, and she's going to go very deep about it. Ms. Crouch, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mo, and thank you for having me.
So as we saw in the video, they speak a lot about culminating and fostering the young talent that is in the cricket system, and the fact that the hubs are a program that is supposed to then take them to the next level and onto professional or under 19 cricket. But when we look at the hub system, do we then really see that happening the way they have put it in that video?
Sure, that's a tricky question. Just looking at schoolboy cricket, I'm gonna start from that perspective. We've seen an incredible system producing incredible youngsters, like the gentleman has mentioned there, into our under 19 squads, and obviously bleeding them into our clubs. We've got big names that have come from these systems, these school systems specifically. And the purposes of these systems is to, like what was said in that video, is to develop these youngsters to potentially not just represent their schools, but at an early stage represent their country. Kwena Mapaga is a huge name, that is bled through not just the under 19 squad, but the senior men's cricket team for South Africa. And when you look at the background that a youngster like Kwena Mapaga comes from, you question where was his start? And it's programs like this that sort of culminate these youngsters. And developing cricketers doesn't start at the age of 16 and 15. It starts at I think this is a cliche word now at this point, but it starts at the grassroots ages. The 12-year-olds, the 13-year-olds, even younger than that. And I think from what I've seen here in KZN, I know of these programs existing, but what I failed to see is consistency in these programs. And not just in the programs themselves, but I think the facilities around Durban specifically. I mean, that's what I know. It's not the best. It's not the best quality, and I think it's across the board. I don't think it's just a cricket problem. I also think that it's an all sports format problem where facilities and infrastructure is not taken care of, and that raises another question of whether or not is that a CSA problem? Is that a hub issue? Is that a municipal issue? Is that a political issue? Because those things do come into play. And all these things sort of create the system. It comes together to create the system. And whether or not it must be working some way, somehow, if we're getting these youngsters. But I think with that said, reach is not entirely there. I know of cricket being played I'm from Richards Bay, so we have small cricket clubs in Richards Bay, and cricket still today is an elitist sport. But I was made aware that there is cricket being played in the townships like Nzeleni, Skawini. There's teams that have been created, but those are by the communities who've fallen in love with the sport, and whether or not these systems or these programs are reaching those communities is a big question mark. And I think that's essentially what this program is there for. To get youngsters, to get kids to play the sports of cricket, to get to know the sports of cricket in these communities where they don't have access to much. But again, the question mark is it reaching those places? And I don't particularly, if I don't know boys or girls who come from the communities or the townships that from where I come from, then that is a problem.
So talking about now the aim of the program itself, it's obviously fostering to the kids that want to develop their cricket skills, underprivileged communities and schools. And the main aim from what we have picked up is that there's supposed to be facility improvement, We're supposed to then supply these kids with the coaches as well as the necessary equipment to then further their knowledge of cricket, to further the way that they play as well. So if we are then looking at Cricket South Africa, all right, we all know how they operate or how they don't as well. So when we're looking at the Cricket Hub system being a system that is supposed to then give and feed players to our professional teams, are they really then meeting things such as facility improvement? Because a lot of facilities such as the one in Mlazi, such as the one in Reservoir Hills, we're still seeing grass that is uncut when there's supposed to be matches played. We're still seeing kits that are not delivered on time, or equipment, bats and balls that are not delivered on time. And that also delays their progress then into going to the professional system. But again, the professional system is part of the organization that is giving us a program such as the Cricket Hub system. So do we then put Cricket South Africa on the back burner, saying that you have introduced something, but you're not necessarily living up to it, and you're the same people that are then telling us that there are not enough matches being played, there are not enough good facilities that are available, and as well the logistics for the kids to travel to and from their homes to the fields are not sufficient. So if you are the funding company or the organizing company of that specific tournament or scheme, such as the hub system, but you're the same people that are giving us the issues, what do we then say about that? Do we say that they are not organized enough, they're not passionate enough about grassroots level cricket?
I think you saying not being passionate enough is a great way of putting it. I wanted to say I think there's a lack of effort. I think I think the effort and the heart to sort of alleviate all these issues is not there enough. I think there's a lot of focus being put on the higher levels at the moment, especially with in light of the Proteas bringing home the World Test Championship trophy. I think we've been waiting a long time for that maize, a very long time for that maize.
A very long time.
And I think as an organization, they're trying to work their way down just from the outside in. I think I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I think that's what it looks like. It does cost a lot of money to create programs like this. However, you can't organize a matric farewell for a bunch of teenagers and not come to the party. You can't throw a half-assed thing. That's the reality. You have to put all the bells and whistles to have a good party. And with that said, I think if their heart and if there was effort being put into continuing this program, I think all these issues or these excuses, because that's what they're starting to sound like, wouldn't be there. I think if the organization nudged on municipalities to say, hey, we need you to come to the party. If they're not coming to the party, who are the sponsors involved that we're getting to help us recreate these facilities or refurbish these facilities? Because the reality is sponsors are willing to do the work.
Yeah.
It's the job of the organization to say, hey, we need the help.
Yeah.
And waiting for a municipal government to react and say, okay, there's 50 million being given for the sports department. We're going to Inki Pinky Ponky and create the football field instead of the cricket pitch. You can't. You'll wait forever.
Yeah.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
I think effort is the problem. I think effort and passion, like you said, is an issue on Cricket South Africa's part. I also think there's a shift in focus of now what they need to do. Perhaps they're recreating the program. Perhaps these are all things that I would think would try and solve a problem that essentially they've created. Because it is a program and it is an idea that they've come up with for quite some time. So I think over time they probably do have some sort of solution. I mean, we've seen SA20 also come on board for their first high school tournament, but that's at a high school level. It's technically at a senior level. From a small kids grassroots lighties level, what is the solution? And I think like I said, effort needs to be put into finding solutions to the problems that they've raised.
So, on the note of then finding solutions to the problems that have been raised, we know that there is the KFC Mini Cricket, and it's also a program that has been developed to highlight youngsters that are coming into the program. But again, something like that only happens over, let's say, 2 days max. And if we look at the amount of media attention that is put on the KFC Mini Cricket event and that of the CSA hubs, do we then start to put it at different levels, seeing as the KFC Mini Cricket is more advertised, it's more out there, it's more known than the cricket hubs are? Because if we go into conversation with someone who follows cricket, let's say the SA20 or even the test tournaments of the Proteas, do they even know what the CSA hubs are?
To be honest, I had no idea Cricket South Africa had hubs until you worked under there, right? I did, however, all my life have the knowledge of KFC Mini Cricket, or I'm giving a little bit of my age away here, Baker's Mini Cricket, right? And I think that sort of gives you some light as to what the hub could be. I think at the same time that KFC Mini Cricket is their solution. KFC has done a great job over the years, and their previous sponsor has done a great job in involving kids of all ages, boys and girls, bringing them together, age, race, background, whether they're privileged or not privileged. Those kids are running around playing cricket. However, there's a capped amount of youngsters that are in that program. The reality is that KFC is running a CSI project and they've chosen Cricket South Africa, or vice versa, right? Where Cricket South Africa have obviously gone to a KFC and said, look, we need the help with this or whatever, help us, come on board, right? And KFC have invested a whole lot of money into this, and it's a brilliant program. I've said this, and I'll always say this. KFC Mini Cricket is a great program. However, again, is it reaching everyone? Does everyone have access to this? Are they going to the right places? Are there schools involved? Which schools are involved? And I think there are. I do have experience with KFC Mini Cricket where I've seen a school that I've done a story on when I first started out in radio. I think Graham Smith was the ambassador of KFC Mini Crickets at the time.
Yes.
And it was just after he retired. So they had a school in the Northern Cape where they shipped them out to Johannesburg to play with the cricket team at the time, the Proteas at the time. So I think it exists. It's a great program. They work with schools, yes. Access is their reach. They'll tell you in their reports. I've been to their reports that they've reached their numbers. Again, it's corporate, it's CSA. They have a goal. They've set their goal to say, okay, 500,000 lighties that they've got to get on board. Where can we get these kids? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 5 schools across South Africa. This is where we're going to get. This is the age group. It's there. That program is there. It does seem to be the leap or the bridge to close that gap into the failing program of the hub. Whether it's going to work or not, I guess we just have to be patient and see.
I just want to quote you. We are agreeing that the hub systems are failing, and it's not from a participant's or coach's point of view. It's from the organizer's point of view.
I think that's from everyone's point of view. I think it's from everyone's point of view. But at the same time, it's also difficult to say everyone's point of view. Because if you go, I can't say if you go to Kasi and you ask the kids, do they want to play cricket? When was the last time I was in a township and was actually hands-on involved? But from what I know is that if you give a kid a cricket bat and you give a kid a soccer ball, the reality is that they'll probably run with the soccer ball. They'll probably even run with a rugby ball because rugby has been marketed so well now in communities. But I think the reality is that it does feel like the hub's program is phasing out, if you will. And I think, just to talk back to my point earlier, I think the solution of involving schools, how they'll get into townships, especially, and the Makayas, because those are where you need to get the sports into, right? Those are the facilities that they have to dig out and find sponsors and find investors to get in and to get involved, because it's the substitute. The municipality doesn't have facilities, so what is the next best thing? We go to schools. Let's pick schools. Those schools, the former Model C schools, your private schools, are well run because of what's already there. It's well maintained. There's money. Da 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 da. It's far easier to partner with those schools and to find these underprivileged kids and get them into programs like this. But it's still blindsiding the hungry child. It's still blindsiding the child from KwaMashu, from Umlazi, from a Mitchell's Plain, from a Wentworth, from a Chatsworth. These are the communities that cricket needs to. Chatsworth, I must say, Chatsworth are doing a great job with sports across the board. Cricket and football is flourishing in that community, but I also think it's because the community have come into play. The community have said, the community has said, we love these sports. We want to see our kids strive and thrive. Let's get involved. Let's invest into our kids. And I think that mentality from communities as well it plays a crucial role into helping and aiding a program like the Hubs program or KC Mini Cricket or Cricket South Africa, because the reality is that such organizations like Cricket South Africa, they've got, I don't want to say bigger responsibilities, but for lack of a better way of putting it, you've got the Proteas, you've got the women Proteas, you've got 3 formats you've got to pay attention to in each of those, in men's and women's cricket. You've got under-19 cricket, you've got provincial cricket, you've got provincial second division cricket, and then you've got all the cricket clubs that they've got to pay attention to. And then you've got the Cubs. The Dolphins have a Dolphins Cub, so they've got the under-13 and the under-16, which they've obviously sourced from programs like this. So the investments are now trickling down slowly but surely. And the reality is that clubs don't have the money either to also maintain all these things. They've also got to rely on sponsors and not just the funds that have been allocated to them. So it's a big, we live in Cyril's economy, guys. Money is a problem. Money is a big problem. So yeah, it is failing. It is a failing program. It's a great idea. Perhaps they have to pray on it, or I don't know, ask ChatGPT for solutions. But it's something that needs to it's something that needs to work, because if it doesn't work, then cricket as a whole is going to fail.
I mean, I'm saying ChatGPT has been around for long enough for them to have used it already. So if it's already failing, do we really think we can go in that solution? But just municipality, yes, they have to play their part. Politically, we're going to talk about CSA obviously in more conversation, but what I really want us to dive into is the whole involvement of the community, right? As well as where these cricket hub systems are set up. We're seeing that they're set up in Reservoir Hills, in Tuzuma, Motherwell in Eastern Cape, where Utama Bavuma is from Eastern Cape as well. And he has also been part of the system here, cricket hubs. He doesn't necessarily come straight from it, but the players that he has been associated with have come from this system. So if we are talking about such a program that is then meant for underprivileged communities to then be a part of cricket, we're also talking about the Black community, okay? Is there enough Black representation in our professional cricket in South Africa? And if not, or if so, what can then the difference be? Because we see that there is a quota system where either or, whether we like it or not, there has to be Black players that are represented in the professional teams, or else the team wouldn't exist.
Yeah, it's a brilliant point that you bring up. It's also a very touchy point that you bring up. But I want to go back to last season in the cricket the CSA, was it the T20 challenge or was it the ODI challenge, where I'm trying to remember because I was at one of the games and I had to do a fill in. The Dolphins, the Dolphins were sort of out. I think it was the one days. The Dolphins were out
One day.
because I think the Dragons or the Warriors, one of those two. One of them were maroon. I don't know why I don't remember this. But anyway, one of those teams had gone through. And then one of them, that team that went through to the playoffs, had then fell out because they did not meet the requirements of the Transformation Act or whatever they call it, where they have to include black players. And that's something that they did not do. There was not one black player that was fielded during their last game before the playoffs. That in itself is an answer. And because it's local cricket, it's hyper local cricket, it's cricket that is supposed to be in community. Imagine going to Pietermaritzburg and not seeing a black player being fielded at the Oval. It doesn't make sense. Imagine going to Kingsmead Stadium and not seeing a black player. That's where you fall in love with cricket. That's where youngsters fall in love with cricket. It's at those stadiums at home. And the reality is that you can't be who you can't see. That is the reality. And I think perhaps the rules aren't strong enough, but I may be wrong. But I mean, the result from that tournament was the Dolphins obviously went through because they fell out. And I think maybe that's where the rules and the consequences are becoming stronger. We only have in our national squad, going now to Australia for the tour in the T20s, Lungingiti is part of that squad. I think Kagiso Rabada is there. Themba Bavuma is there. I haven't looked at that squad properly. Who else is there? I don't think.
I've seen the list. Themba Bavuma might or might not be playing because apparently he's pending injury again, which is something that we hear every now and again. I think Themba should just be squashed for now.
Shame. Leave. Guys, no, guys, come on. We won the maze. Give Themba a break. Shame. Leave Themba.
No, we're not going to give him a break because, yes, he did bring the trophy home, but at the same time, how long have we been waiting for him to do that? And again, it goes back to the conversation of quota because before that, in the SA20, he wasn't performing well. And then we see him in different formats as well as the ODI as well as Test Series, where he took a very long time to build up and give us a performance that we need. We saw a lot of ducks from him. From Mina, he's already short, so the combos communicate. So another thing I'm saying is that those are the questions that are coming to the play that are coming to the table. Are we keeping him on for other reasons besides actually being able to give us the stats that he has given us before, or is it because he is a black captain?
I think it's a bit of both. I think they've got to paint a picture. There's a reality there. They have to paint a picture. At the same time, we have to give some credit to Themba Bavuma. I'm sorry, I'm gonna back the poor old. South Africa has given the guy a lot of slack, and I think he got his break, especially in that test final. We saw him stand. We saw him hold the stand despite being injured. His figures, when he does hit figures, I think he's got hundreds. I think he's got 400s in Test cricket as a captain, which is not easy.
Yeah,
being a leader, it's not easy being a leader and being a cricketer. And I think particularly in that final, sorry, I'm going to refer to the final a lot because it was something that we've been waiting for a very long time. But I think particularly in that final, it was brilliant to see him step up, not just as a cricketer but as a leader. And in that moment, he just happened to be black. I think that was the story. I think that was the story. It was a brilliant picture for South African cricket. The first black cricketer ever in the history of cricket to lift the mace. That has never been done in the history of cricket. So I think that in itself is a brilliant story to a black South African boy, to any black South African, to say that, listen, we've been disadvantaged in the past, and we've got the ability to continue to make history, positive history. And I think that therefore is a great picture to use from the Cricket South Africa's perspective. So I think it's great that he's a great leader, and it's great that he is a good cricketer, a good enough cricketer to be at that position, to hold that fort. But at the same time, it is a picture. It is a picture that they have to paint, unfortunately. And I know in the past, Atemba Bavuma, for example, has been called a quota player. I think credit must be given to him as a cricketer. I think credit must be given to him as a leader as well in the cricketing structures. But the reality is that Temba Bavuma is not the only black player. With that said, there's still not enough players of color, particularly black players, in our South African cricketing structures and in our green and gold sides. I think that is something that we're still fighting for. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Ntini. Every time you see that man, every time he's given an opportunity to speak, he will sing the same song. And he shouldn't be singing the song. He shouldn't still be singing that song at his age as a retired cricketer, as a retired black cricketer, one of the first to have done greatness in South African cricket. We can count black cricketers in our senior, contracted black cricketers on our hands. Pranillan Subrayan just got his break. He's making his ODI debut and his T20 debut. Should he be fielded? When do they play? Now, this weekend. Whenever. That's weird. That's crazy. The man is 30. What? How old is Pranillan now? Subrayan, I think he's
34 now.
30 is old. To get a maiden call up for the national team at his age is a problem. It's a problem.
Are we saying there's not enough?
Is there not enough? You're asking what? Is there not enough what?
Is it a problem because there's not enough players of his maturity to come into the playing field of ODI?
No, there's not enough youngsters being bleeded, of the youngsters of color being bled at an earlier stage to come to those structures. Why must we wait for a player to be an over senior player to be a junior player? Because the reality is that he's a junior player. Yes, he's played for the South African player, but he is the oldest or one of the oldest junior or youngest players in the squad, in a T20 and ODI squad. That man is brilliant with the spin ball. And yes, obviously they choose Keshav over Pranillan, but Keshav is slowly weaning his way out.
Yes.
Pranillan is at an age where he should have also been, being weaned out of the squad. Yeah. I think it's time that more cricketers come to the fore. Cricketers of color, black particularly, come to the fore. And the only way we can find them is through these hub systems and programs. Yeah.
Ms. Crouch, I think this conversation can go on for about 3-4 hours, seeing as we're speaking about something that is of passion in South Africa, and it's going to be a sport that is closely related to rugby, which is also very big in South Africa. But for now, we're going to wrap it up there, and we want to say thank you so much for giving us your time, your insights, as well as your journalistic skill, because that is what we're looking for. We're going to have you on the show again once the Proteas have given us performance that we want and that we need. But for now, we're going to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
That was, of course, Faida Crouch. She is a sport journalist here on Voice on the Move Radio. She joined us to speak about the cricket hubs in South Africa and the impact that they have on developing cricket in South Africa, going into professional all the way from the grassroots level. This is where we're going to end the show. Remember, we are willing and hoping to interact with you, so do comment in the comment section, as well as put in that bell button notification so that you can know every time that we go live. This is, of course, Most Sight, the sports show you never knew you needed. We're going to wrap it up here for now and join you the next time. Thank you.
La Suga La Tala, VM Sports.
Let's play some football.